This is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, August 3rd. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to get caught up with things going on in Washington with one of the two men who represent the Lakeshore in the U.S. House. He is U.S. House Speaker. He's not Speaker. One time he might have been, but he is U.S. House Representative Fred Upton from St. Joseph, joining us via the Zoom connection. I know, giving you a promotion, but first, Republicans need to get control of the U.S. House before you even think about being Speaker, Fred.
That's right. We need to be in the majority. I'm not going to be a Speaker with the Democrats in charge under any. I wouldn't even get my own vote.
We'll talk a little bit about that aspect in a few moments, but we do need to address a couple of things that are going on in Washington. First of all, the infrastructure deal. Apparently, the Senate has come up with one, but it might be DOA in the House because of what the current House Speaker wants to do, and tie-barring that with another package that, frankly, Republicans can't even stomach.
Well, you're right on part of it for sure. I mean, the first step is the Senate's got to pass this bipartisan plan. It's an outcropping of the Problem Solvers Caucus that we got together. We talked about this earlier this year on a number of different times, but really stemming back to discussions that we initiated back in April. The Senate came together, a bipartisan group. I think it was 17 Republicans voted for this to move forward this last week. They're probably not going to finish it. You know, there's a lot of amendments. It's an open process, so a lot of amendments. It probably won't conclude till the end of this week. And then that'll be pending to come over to the House. There was a press conference that I participated in on Friday with not only a number of senators, Republican and Democrat, but also our Problem Solvers Caucus itself. We probably had, 30 members there all told. Many of us spoke, as I did. And we implored the Speaker, if the Senate passes this, bring it up. We can't wait. It's bipartisan. It's paid for. It addresses the needs that America wants, particularly here in Michigan with our roads and bridges and infrastructure needs. So let's bring it up. The Speaker Pelosi will be under a lot of pressure to bring us back this month, August. We're supposed to be home all month. I'd like to think that maybe in 2 weeks we'll go back for a day or two. And I don't know what'll happen to the rest of the Biden plan, which is, as you know, it's $3.5 trillion. It undoes much of the Trump tax cuts from 2017. It's unlikely, I think, that it can get the votes in the House and the Senate, but it'll be close. I mean, it'll be a close call, but I'm all in on getting this bipartisan plan done and calling us back to get it done. We'll see how it all plays out.
Bipartisan plan is one thing that's being discussed, but another one that might bring lawmakers back about dealing with rental assistance. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will brief House Democrats about it today, talking about the possibility of distributing more than $46 billion in rental assistance to millions of Americans who are facing eviction after the national moratorium on evictions expired over the weekend. Fred, it's it is a dicey subject because for many people, they need the help. They need to be able to not worry about being evicted. But there's a good argument from landlords. Some of them are mom and pops are just renting out their houses, and it's not short-term rentals, about the fact they got bills to pay too.
Well, you're right. And I got to say that, the courts have ruled, the Supreme Court ruled, and said Congress needs to establish the parameters of this program. The money was there. It was passed in the COVID package. About $3 or $4 billion has been put out, but you're right. There's about $40 billion that's left. It'll be a great question for you to ask my colleague Bill Huizenga when he's on probably later this week. I know that there was room for a compromise, a bipartisan plan, and the chair of the Financial Services Committee, Maxine Waters, walked away from it. She wanted her plan or no plan. That wasn't going to happen. It was going to need votes in the House. They didn't have the votes in the House to pass it done, despite having a majority. And they're probably nowhere close to having the 60 votes in the Senate to get it done. So the only way that something's going to happen is if Waters actually sat down and sat down in this case with Patrick McHenry, the Republican leader, the top Republican on the Financial Services Committee. She just wasn't willing to do that. And the Biden administration didn't weigh in until, frankly, after the fact. So it's doubtful that we will be coming back this month. And I have to say, the economy is moving again. And businesses are looking for employees at every level. You can't go down Main Street in any town without seeing it on the marquee and the signs and the windows, yard signs. I drove through Holland this weekend. I flew back to Grand Rapids when I came back to Michigan. And, there are billboards. Those billboards cost thousands of dollars for businesses looking for anyone. And many of these wages are starting at $20 or $25 an hour. So, the economy is coming back again. Consumer demand is there. And there's, our companies need workers. And so we're in a much better position than we were a year ago. Let's face it.
One of the things I want to touch base with you on, Fred, you signed on a letter by a fellow Michigan Congresswoman, Lisa McClain, to maintain Title 42 authority at the border to stem the surge of migrants we've seen over the last few months. This has become a very touchy subject, especially with the ongoing discussion about those coming across the border and not being tested for COVID-19. And yet, you can't go north, but they're coming in from the south.
Well, you're right. I mean, this has been a tough situation for a number of years. I've said this the last couple of weeks. Former President Trump said, Congress, do your job. We haven't done it. But that doesn't mean that we should undo what was working. We need to make sure, when Americans travel someplace else and come back, they're required to be tested to make sure that they have a negative test. We want to make sure that everybody coming back to this country is tested and that test is negative. But I'll tell you, one of the, I think, huge mistakes of the Biden administration has been to change what's happened with the asylum status of folks coming in across the border. It was intended initially, anyway, that those asylum background checks would happen in that individual's country. That's where our embassies are. That's where the connections are. That's where, frankly, the work ought to be done as to whether the status is valid or not, rather than, come here. Literally over 150,000 folks a month and try to do that status here. It doesn't work that way, and that's one of the reasons why our border is being flooded right now. And border security has got to be part of any element of what we see with immigration reform.
One final thing, $2 million grant, Western Michigan University has gotten it from the Department of Energy. Tell us about that.
Well, this is an exciting place. I was at Western Michigan's lab a month or two ago, met with the engineering team, amazing professors and students that are there. They're working on the cars of the future, as they always have. Frankly, I can remember a lot of years ago, it was their solar-powered car. Remember they have this race with all the universities that go across the country in a solar-powered car. I think they won it. It actually came to the Capitol grounds. This is now, as you look to the future, it's going to be these autonomous vehicles, the ones that drive safe by themselves. That's the future. You and I, we don't want our kids to take our keys away. That's the hardest thing. It was really hard for me to do with my dad. He doesn't fight it anymore, but man, he sure did fight it before. But we have more than 40,000 fatalities every year. That number will drop dramatically down once we get this technology down. And so this is an opportunity for the engineering folks at Western who have proven their worth, that not only they can do that, but also make more fuel efficient vehicles as well. So it was an exciting day. I look forward to I know they're happy campers up there. Let me tell you, it was exciting to literally kick the tires with the professors there and see some of the things that they're up to.
He is Congressman Fred Upton. He joins us Tuesday mornings, talk about what is going on in Washington. He represents Allegan County in the U.S. House. No, we have not promoted him to Speaker. But we'll talk next week, Fred, if all goes well. Thank you, sir.
I'm keeping the R next to my name.
Okay, thank you very much, Fred Upton on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.